Episode number 51, Glenn Davidson.
All right, cut to edge of stage. Great. All right, color frost.
Check. 1, 2, 3. Check.
Stand by, please. House to half, house out, running cues 1 through 10, sound cues 1 through 10.
Welcome back to the Title Block, a podcast about Canadian theatre designers, their history, and their craft. I am, as usual, your host, Michael Cruz, and this time I have an interview with Toronto-based designer Glenn Davidson. Now, I've known Glenn and worked with him since I started in the business in the early 1990s, and he has shared with me a lot of my formative theatre experiences, especially around that old Title Block mainstay, the Blythe Festival. But Glenn was also around for the second wave of alternative theatre in the late 80s in Toronto, and he tells me all about his work with Theatre Columbus, now Common Boots Theatre, and the rest of the Poor Alex group, as well as the start of the Toronto Fringe Festival. The show notes are long for this one, so if you are confused by the number of names or shows we are tossing around, please go to thetitleBlock.com and see the show notes. Just before we begin, I also wanted to add a clarification of a couple of things Glenn and I discussed and kind of blanked on. First, both Glenn and I blank at the last name of the inimitable Craig Smith, the head scenic carpenter and resident engineering genius at Young People's Theatre in the 1990s and early 2000s. My apologies, Craig. I actually have no idea if he listens to this, but oh boy, it was a bit embarrassing. As well, there were only 3 founding companies of the Poor Alex Theatre Group, and Autumn Leaf, while they may have been producing there, were not one of them. Now, I've reached out to Jennifer Bruin from Common Boots for more information about who owned the building, the Poor Alex, and what happened during the transition. So please see the show notes for any clarification of this. I'll update it as more information comes in. And I also wanted to make sure that we do not mistake the Poor Alex Theatre Group with the Poor Alex Theatre. I mean, it seems like a small thing, but the theater and the venue predates the group by about 20 years. They were the venue, for example, where Air Farce debuted in the late 1960s. So it's been around for a long time. And don't forget to go to patreon.com/the Title Block Podcast to support the show. I'm currently in Vancouver recording this and eating all of the sushi I can get my hands on so I can bring you some great interviews in the new year. But for now, please listen to the stories and tales told by designer Glenn Davidson as we sat in his living room in Toronto in August of 2018. Glenn Davidson is a set, lighting, and costume occasionally designer based out of Toronto, originally born in Montreal, raised in Ottawa. Glenn and I have worked together on many shows, and he has worked for over 30 to 35 years in the business, and he joins me now in his home here in Toronto. Welcome to the Title Block.
Thank you. More than 30 years, unfortunately. It's closer to 40.
I didn't want to say the 40 word.
It's
I'm
40,
like,
yeah,
that's a long time.
I know.
It's okay. So tell me about when you started out. You said you were born in Montreal.
Yeah, I was born in Montreal in an English enclave. All English-speaking people around me. I didn't not have any French friends. And my father got a job teaching at Ottawa U in 1968. And so we all moved to Ottawa. And I basically, from age of 11 to 22, I went to high school and also university in Ottawa. I had free tuition.
And so he taught...
Phys ed.
Phys ed, fantastic. Mm-hmm. And what did you take at Ottawa when you went there?
Theater.
And why that decision? Like, what led you to that?
Well, in high school, I was sort of a typical 70s kid in high school. All I wanted to do was smoke dope and hang out, and skip as much class as I could and that sort of thing. And I took theater because they didn't have an exam. And I hated exams or studying, anything like that. So I took it, and it was like a bird course. And then I realized I started working on a show. It was The Skin of Our Teeth, actually. And I was working backstage. I can't even remember now what, just like moving scenery around and stuff like that. And I realized one day that it was 6:00 and I was still at school. And I went, I don't even want to go home. I'd like to stay here and do this. And it was the first thing in school that I'd ever done where I actually wanted to spend time on it more than was required. And so because I had free tuition at Ottawa U, it was one of these things, well, it doesn't really matter what you choose because it's free. So you don't have to feel like you're, wasting the money if it doesn't work out. And Ottawa U had a theater department, a theater program, but no design or technical program at all. So I was too shy to be an actor in high school, or so I thought. And so I thought that, well, I could do something that's creative because I didn't want to just be a technician. It had to be important, whatever it was. It had to be important, and therefore it had to be a creative position. And so I hit on set design. I had actually no idea what a set designer did or what skills were needed or anything. I just thought, yeah, I'll do that. And not lighting, it was set. So I went to Ottawa U. And they had only acting courses pretty well. And so I started doing that. And, it's very physical. And it's sort of like a training, like a, physical training. And I got into it. It was fun. And I changed my focus. By the time I had graduated from 4 years of doing that, I decided I wanted to be an actor. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what years were that?
So I went to Ottawa U. I graduated in 1980 after 4 years.
And anybody in your cohort there that you worked with afterwards, or was it something you just left behind? Yeah.
Maristella Roca is a playwright who is we were good friends at Ottawa U. Michael Stevens, who you wouldn't know, but he's still a technician at the NAC. In fact, the guy who taught me lighting, when I did Stuff Happens at the NAC a couple of years ago, I was on I had a big hang, 400 lamps or something, and a big crew. And I heard this voice, and I turned around, and it was Bob DeMetril who taught me. And he's retired, but now he pulls calls at the NAC. It was like, he didn't recognize me at all. But it was kind of cool in a way that he was on my crew, and he actually was the guy who gave me Richard Pilbro's book. And he taught me in about a half an hour the McCandless theory. And basically that was the only formal training I ever had as a lighting designer, was the half an hour that Bob DeMetril spent with me in his office.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So just copying it ever since.
Yeah. It's also, whatever works, right? And some people could learn from that, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you should employ that more. Saw a show last week that was like that. But it also goes to show that you should never, whatever position you're in, things could be reversed, or power could be reversed, or how you relate to people in the future could always change.
You also don't know how even a small thing that you do for a student or anything like that can have a huge influence on them, like a small thing. I will point to, Sula Page did the same thing for me as a designer. I was working with her as a production manager on Goodnight Desdemona. And she saw some potential in me, and she encouraged me. She bought me drafting tools. She for years would check my drafting because I didn't know how to draft, and she would check it before I sent it in. Wow. So and she took that on her own, and that mentoring is super important, I think.
I remember for myself, a gentleman named Carl Wiley was the head electrician at the Center in the Square in Kitchener, and he trained in. I've probably talked about this on the show before. He trained in University of Hawaii. He did his MFA in Hawaii. And as a lighting designer, and found his way through life to Kitchener, where he designed the lighting system for the Humanities Theater, and then that got replicated when they built the
Center in the
Square in 1980.
Massive thing.
Yeah, massive. And he
way too big.
Oh, it's a giant touring house.
It's like 100-foot wide pros or something.
Yeah, Phantom went there, a 190-foot grid, 60 by 80-foot
Can
deck.
they sell it?
Yeah.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
success.
It does quite well.
Oh,
yeah, it does quite well. Not as well now as it was in the 80s and 90s, but Phantom played there, and it was and Cats, all the big shows. It was big enough to
like
to
a
have
huge
all
regional. It works as a regional,
Exactly.
basically, right?
Yeah, but he taught me, and that was the same thing. Over summer, learned basics, and then he was a
go from there,
mentor
right?
for early.
Yeah.
Great. So you're at University of Iowa now. You finished the program, 4-year, was a 4-year program?
Yeah, I actually was there for 5 years because I didn't go to grade 13. And at the time they had something called pre-U, So you could go to, and I took, I did a 4-year program in five years because you didn't get any credits for the pre-U year. You just got prerequisites.
That makes sense.
That allowed me to take as many theater courses as I wanted because I basically spread out my education over 5 years instead of 4. And I took 6 courses a year. So I took puppetry. I took,
all the things. That's great.
Ironically, I didn't take the 1/2 course they had in design. I don't remember why. I think I wanted to do puppetry or something, but anyways, I didn't take it.
That's funny. Yeah. So what, you finished Ottawa and then you leave town again, right? Or
I decided by that time I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Had been cast in a small spear carrier role at the NAC in Henry V and Mother Courage in Rap, which I to this day remember these productions because they're legendary. They were John Wood at his worst, and it was just before he left. And,
you should elaborate
there's
on
some
that.
stories. Oh my God, there are stories. There are stories I hear people tell that I was there for, and people tell these stories, and they have them wrong. A lot of times. There's a famous story about Derek Ralston, who's dead now, unfortunately, lovely actor, who was playing Pistol and playing the chaplain in Mother Courage. And he went after John Wood with an axe, is the story. Wow. But that's not what happened, because I was there. Okay. Yeah, and the chaplain has to chop wood, or he did in this production. And John Wood loved to stop the action from the back of the house. He goes, snap! And then he'd come out on the stage, take him 20 minutes to get the goddamn stage. And then he'd walk up on the stage and he would literally show the actor what he wanted them to do. Actors hate that, especially Joan Ornstein, for example, was playing Mother Courage. Anyway, it was just incredibly. And Derek Ralston was this really sweet, a very, very sweet man, and he was gay and kind of closeted, and he was just a very timid person. On stage he was wonderful, but as a person he was very timid. And John Wood came up to him and took the hatchet. It was a hatchet, not an axe, and took it out of his hand, and he was showing him how to do it. And Derek freaked out and grabbed the hatchet from him and ripped it out of his hands and said, don't fucking tell me how to fucking chop fucking wood or something like that, right? And that's it. That's what happened, right? He didn't go at him with an axe. It was a hatchet, and it was, he just took it away from him because he had taken it from him in the first place. But people remember those productions as being particularly awful. They were 3.5 hours long, 2 intermissions. Right. We'd watch every intermission. After every intermission, there'd be fewer and fewer people in the house. Oh, it was just... And we would do them in rap. So Henry and Mother in rap, 8 shows a week. Jesus Christ. Yeah, 3 hours, 3.5 hours for Henry, 3 hours and 15 for Mother.
That sounds like a nightmare. It's so much work. And
And then Derek Ralston, the guy who played the chaplain, went to a bar. He got beaten so badly that he came back to the show and he was coughing up blood because he'd been kicked and everything. And he never came back to the show, and he died within, 3 or 4 months as a result. So we were doing Henry and Mother. This is a very long story, Michael. Okay. We were doing Henry and Mother in rep in the theater. Yeah. In the studio, they were doing Joe Orton's Lute. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which had an 8:30 start. Right. An 8 o'clock start for Henry and Mother. But they couldn't do performances of Lute when we were doing Mother, because Ben Campbell and a number of other actors, but Ben in particular, was in Lute. And he was also in Mother Courage. So, and it was a company, right? So they had scheduled it in such a way that there were only so many performances of Lute. Right. But they also had figured out, so already, Edward Atienza? Do you remember Edward Atienza? He was a wonderful, wonderful actor. He's dead now, but he's a wonderful actor. He was from Halifax. This was already in the gig, right? He was the old man in Lute. Okay. So Lute could play simultaneously with Henry because Ben wasn't in Henry. Right. And I think Charlie Fletcher too, like the couple of actors, but mainly it was Ben. Yeah. So, but for Henry, because it had an 8 o'clock curtain and Lute had an 8:30, Edward Atienza would come out and do the prologue. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the very deep. And he would do that as the Duke of Cornwall or whoever it is. I don't know who it is. And then he would go off, change into the old man, do Lute, which was only an hour and a half long. And then he would come back. He'd change back into the Duke of Cornwall or whoever it is, and he would give the epilogue. That's crazy. Yeah. It was insane. So this was already happening, okay? So he was already doing this. And it was a great gig for him because he didn't have to work when we were doing Mother. So he was only doing he was doing 8 shows a week, but he was really doing them 2 shows at a time, right? So then when Derek had to leave the show, first they put in an ASM, poor fucker, in full makeup and costume as Pistol with a book, doing Shakespeare. I mean, just... Ugh. And then we got Teddy. He's great. He can play the chaplain. Well, so then, because Lute never played when Mother played. Oh, right. Okay. So they put him into the chaplain in one rehearsal. Right. And because he was a chaplain, he could carry a Bible. Oh, yeah. Right? So, but he sang songs. Like it's a Brecht. He has solos, right? Like, I've never seen a pro like that. Like the guy walked in after one rehearsal and did a 3.5 hour long production while he was doing 2 other shows. So on a matinee day, he would literally do 3 shows. Wow.
How did Equity let them get away with that?
He made an enormous amount of money.
Yes,
sir, because it was like an A house.
Yeah, sure. Wow, that's a crazy story.
I know.
The John Wood years at NAC are nuts.
Oh, he was insane.
I did a show with him with the Festival of Classics out in the park in Oakville.
Oh,
were you on that?
Bonnie did that. No, she couldn't have, but she did Festival of Classics.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we all did Festival of Classics.
Yeah.
Yes. And we did Pericles.
That didn't last long, that company, did it? 3 or 4 years or something?
3 or 4 years. Yeah. I think the insects in the water chased everyone away because it's getting very buggy because it was right on the lake. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So NEC, Spear Carrier.
Yeah. So then I decided to move to Toronto and be an actor. Right. And I did. I came here. I had an audition with the CBC. I got a little thing on a CBC, like one of those historical docudramas, about Nellie McClung. And I got to be a rabble rouser who said racist things out of the... And then I got a role in at the theater center on the Danforth. Oh, yeah. Okay, which is the music hall now, I think, where all those companies started, like Autumn Angel, a Necessary Angel, and Autumn Leaf, Tom Sokolowski's company, Buddies, because Sky was the artistic director, and there's a 4th company that I'm forgetting. There were 4 companies. Anyways, I got cast in a Sky Gilbert thing called The Piano of Death. And I did a really bizarre performance in that show. And
can we just step back for a second? Yeah. The music hall, I did not know this, was the music hall in Danforth.
Was the theater center.
Yeah. This is like the 3rd... Like going back
the first
4th
theater center, yeah.
Right, but then it moved down to...
Oh, it's been many places. So it was on Lippincott. You probably don't remember it being on Lippincott.
No, you're kidding.
No, it was on... But I think I think it went from... I have a feeling it went from the Danforth to Queen Street. Okay. Like where Wicked ended up, the sex club.
Oh yeah, that's the old Legion building.
Yeah. Sargent Trowels.
Yeah. That's right.
And then I think I went to Lippincott briefly, like for maybe a year or 2. Okay. And then it went to Dovercourt.
Right.
I think.
So Lippincott was
Queen and
after Queen Street.
I think so.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that makes
But
sense.
the music hall, okay, interesting. And Autumn Leaf was up there too.
Yeah.
And Buddies.
Yeah.
Before they moved down to the Actors Lab area, whatever the hell that was.
Oh, down on George Street.
Yeah, on George Street.
Yeah, the pinkest theater in Toronto.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Awesome. Tell me you still have video of your CBC
No.
work. Oh,
I don't think I ever did.
you're okay.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't think I ever did. I don't remember it. It was terrible. I was literally, I think you could barely see me. You could mainly hear me. Right. And there were all these other guys around me that were on camera, SOCs. Do you know what an SOC is? Silent on camera. Oh, yeah. So, and we were in a crowd. And I was, I had lines, which was, hey, Pocahontas and all these sort of things. It's just horrible things I had to say. But I had buddies around me who were silent on camera, extras. So I was kind of going to get them all to, and they all started getting into it, and they're actors, right? They all started going, yeah. And so the guy comes over and goes, okay, which one of you's got the guy with the line? And it was me. And they said, yeah, you talk. The rest of you shut the fuck up, right? Because I'd have to pay them, right?
That's right. We're only paying you guys to show up and be a body.
Exactly.
That's interesting. All right. So the Sky Show happens.
So yeah, I mean, and what happened eventually was, and then I did this, oh my God. I did a production of the Oresteia, where I played Orestes. Oh my God. And Maristella Roca had written this adaptation of the thing, and we did it, the southeast corner of Spadina and Queen, with a couple, the building with a couple on it? Yeah. That, and the third floor, some guy's apartment. We did it, and I feel it was part of some kind of festival. I don't think it was a Fringe, because it hadn't started yet. It was some kind of festival. Right. Something. Anyway, you could put about 12 people in. Right. And we did this ridiculous, I can't remember it, except that I suspect it was terrible. And so I did that. And at the time I had just gotten married. And my wife at the time, this is not Bonnie, this is my first wife, was not a theater person. And I was going to a lot of rehearsals. And she was just dreadfully jealous. Sure. And she was convinced I was having an affair with the actress playing Electra. Right. Trust me, I wasn't. But she was convinced that I was, and eventually I actually quit acting because it was causing too much stress in my house. Yeah. Because I had technical skills, so I decided I would pursue those instead.
Right. I know that feeling. I became. Well, I was the year that I turned down Stratford. This is the year that I turned down Stratford in 2002 or something. 2001, 2002.
At least you've been able to turn them down, darling.
That's a good point.
I've never had to turn them down, or Shaw, or anyone like that. So.
Yeah, it was. That was the year that I broke up with my now ex-husband, because it was too much stress to manage the career, and again, he wasn't in theater either.
Yeah, and they don't understand.
It's just they just don't get it.
Or some people do, but a lot of people do not.
It's a challenge. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I understand it. So it sort of drove you into technical theater.
Well, yeah, I mean, partly I wanted something that would pay me more regularly. Partly I was not thrilled with the material that I was being asked to audition for. I went, and it's funny because when I eventually became I didn't go directly into designing from that. I became a technician at Harbourfront, so I worked at Harbourfront for a number of years, just basically doing AV, and then I had a kid, and then I got a job at U of T, and so basically that's what happened. I was working at Harbourfront, and Julie Bishop, who was a fellow student of mine at Ottawa U, she was one of the co-artistic directors of Theatre Columbus with Martha and Leah. They had started out with Martha and Leah, and then Julie joined them.
Right. So this is Leah
Cherniak, Martha Ross,
yeah.
And Julie Bishop,
right?
Who's now Julie Owens. She's married, and we were friends from school. And she had been one of those perennial students, So when we'd been students together at Ottawa U, but she'd gone back to school. I still don't know why, but she went back to school in Toronto, and I don't know, somehow we hooked up. Like we re-encountered one another, and she was going to U of T in the undergrad program. And one day I was working at Harbourfront. She phoned me up and she said, "How much money do you make?" And I said, $16,000 a year. And she said, "How'd you like to make 30?"
Right.
And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, and you'd have your summers free." And I went, "Oh, okay." And U of T had this undergrad program, which Leah had come out of, actually, and Daniel Brooks and other people, but those are the ones I can think of. Don McKellar came out of there. Tracy Wright came out of there. Andrea Lundy came out of there eventually.
That's a huge part of the Canadian, of Toronto theater in the 1980s. That's the start of...
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Because not just them, Jim Milan.
Yeah.
I don't think he went there, but he had associations there, and he rented that space and used it a lot in the early days with Crows.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I lost my little train there. Where was I?
You reconnected with...
Oh, yeah, Julie. So she phoned me up and said, "Do you want this job?" And there was the TD of the undergrad theater program at U of T, and they had a guy there who'd been there for a long time, and I gather he'd been there too long, and he'd carved himself a sweet deal, man. Like he was officially on call from May 1st to August 15th, and getting a full salary. Yeah. On call.
But nothing was...
No, the space wasn't rented or anything. It was just empty. It was supposed to be for maintenance, but when I went in there, it was quite obvious the guy had never maintained anything in his life. I mean, it had 12 dimmers. Yeah. When I went in there were 12 dimmers and 35 lights. Right. When I left, we had 96 dimmers and I don't know, 80 lights or something like that. Yeah. And you know what? I was just back there last year. I designed in there last year at the UC Playhouse, which is now the Helen Gardner Phelan Playhouse, and the same gear is still there. So
isn't that the way?
Oh, you know what's really weird is when you go into a place that you worked in, I worked there for 7 years, and so I knew every inch of the place. Literally every inch. I crawled into the attic and all that sort of stuff. And when you go in and there's certain things that are exactly the same, it's weird. Yes. It's a weird feeling. Because Nick was born while I worked there, and he's 35.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So when I started working there, they wanted somebody young who would really relate to the students, I think, and I did. I was only 27 or 28 years old, and I didn't really have great skills, but enough, And they were really prolific as a department. They had a lot of students that would do a lot of self-directed work, and but they had no design or technical theater program at all. So everything was done just kind of ad hoc, and it was a real hippie thing, like beforehand, right? Everybody was, it was pretty loosey-goosey. And I came in, and they had no one to light their shows, they had no one to design their sets, and I just started doing it for fun. Yeah. I wasn't being paid to do it. I just thought it was fun. Yeah. And then Julie, who'd got me the job, graduated and was working with Theatre Columbus, who were just starting out. They'd done one show, I think.
Sorry, what year was this?
I think it's around 85.
Yeah.
I think it's about 85, okay. Somewhere around there, 85 or 86. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they were doing a show called Melancholia, which is about the fallen angel, based on the Durr engraving of the fallen angel. Yes, yes. And again, like most Theatre Columbus shows at the time, they had a title and no script. Right. Just an idea to start clown improvisation from, and an incredible cast: Michael Simpson and Martha Ross and Ollie Dennis and just Andy Massingham. I mean, they were just like really great clowns, like some really great clowns. And Julie phoned me up one day and said, again, she does this to me all the time. She did it with the job. what are you doing? And I said, I'm working at the job you got me. And I said, well, you build stuff, right? And I went, yeah, kind of, like I know how to use a saw and a hammer, kind of. And she said, well, we're doing this show and our set designers had a nervous breakdown and we want you to do it. And I went, I had no idea like what it meant at all. So I just went, sure, cool. And I had just split up with my first wife, and I had moved into a bachelor apartment just down here on doesn't matter. And I literally had a bed sit, and I had no tools. I had no idea. I didn't have a cut mat. I didn't have so I went and got an X-Acto blade and some balsa wood, and I literally with a glue gun on my hands and knees on the carpet of my bachelor, I built this model. I didn't know how to work with scale or anything like that. I learned it, but I basically was teaching myself scale. I was using like a normal ruler figuring it out, and I built this thing and then eventually that's what we did. That's what we used. And it was sort of based on the original design. But it had never been fleshed out. Right. It was just sort of some sketches and stuff like that. And I had to make it. I'm a very practical person. Sure. So it was all about how big is it? How long is it? Where does it fit? How are we going to build this? And all that sort of thing. So that's why they brought me on, was because I could know how to build it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then Theatre Columbus, I sort of was able to hitch my wagon to their star a bit. They were really on the upswing. They were the darlings of the critics, and then for good reason. I mean, look at the people. I mean, God, it's just a who's who of. Basically, it's Soul Pepper, and when you look at it, it's many of the people that ended up being the bedrock of Soul Pepper's company, because those same people did the Three Sisters in Banff, which is what Soul Pepper came out of, right? I was a production manager on that, actually. Anyway, so. They were a fledgling company. They started to use me all the time. So I got to cut my teeth with that company, which is a highly imaginative company and kind of weird in that they didn't have scripts. So a lot of times, Cooking with Columbus, for example, I literally had that title. That was it. And we had to build the set. We had to design and build a set. I got that one off Bugs Bunny. That was the inspiration, was a Bugs Bunny. I was watching Saturday morning cartoons with Nick, who was like a little kid. And there was a kitchen with the swinging, those cafe doors that go in and out with the round porthole windows in them. And there was a kind of comic routine where people kept going. And I went, there you go. And that's what I did. I basically stole a Bugs Bunny, a cartoon.
Well, we take inspiration for anywhere, right? That makes a total sense.
For sure.
What was the process of recording? Like, would they then do a draft script after things were up and in tech, or was like, how did they write this stuff down?
Yeah, because what they would do is they would record during rehearsal. I may not be perfectly accurate with some of this, but as one of my understanding is, they would record or annotate, or not annotate, transcribe during rehearsal, and so that they could go back. But it was mostly intention and the idea more than the specifics of what they said. And a lot of the stuff was based on physical latsies. What's that? A latsie? A latsie is...
I have no idea what a latsie is.
Oh, a latsie is... So any of these people that were trained at Lecoq or any of these kind of schools, there's this thing called a latsie, which is... Again, I'm not an actor. I shouldn't probably bastardize this but anyway, it's like you do something... Yeah. And then you do it again and again and again. It's about repetition, and it's about pushing past the point where it becomes funny. Pushing past the point where it becomes to where it becomes funny, and if you keep going with it, you have to learn when you can roll it and how many times you can keep rolling it. Because if you can keep rolling it, you'll have people peeing their pants, and they can't stop because it just gets so funny. But you have to know when to stop, and that's really key.
That's
those
interesting.
Instincts. So they based a lot of their stuff on just a simple physical movement, or like a physical action that they would then develop and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. You see that a lot.
And then over time,
Yep.
And then over time, they'd piece together a narrative.
Yes. Typically, it was like around a theme. Okay. So the anger in Ernest and Ernestine is about anger in relationships. Right. Because it's not called the love, it's called the anger in Ernest and Ernestine. Yeah. And it's about really a very universal, I mean, in one point they talk about, you always hurt the one you love. They use that lyric from that song. And they talk about it. They say, yeah, what is with that lyric? Like, why do you hurt the person you love? But essentially that is what the original question was. Yeah. Why do you end up being so, really passionately hate the person that you felt so passionately in love with? Right. And you can't feel that level of hatred for someone else, and why not? And it's anyway, and I've done the play many times and so many different audiences, and you go, well, there's a universal truth there. So I think they use those universal themes in a lot of their plays. So I did a play called Paranoia, for example. And it's this character that's completely paranoid. I mean, he's paranoid. So it starts off with him having a chat with you, the audience, as he's sitting in a cafe. And he wants to smoke, and he's afraid to smoke in front of you, the audience. Right. And so he opens his menu, and he pretends to smoke behind it. Right. And he blows the smoke into the menu and then closes the menu and that sort of thing, so the smoke won't come out. I mean, it's a clown thing. And they gave him a menu, and they sat him in front of an audience, and this go, and that's what came out. Right?
Crazy.
Yeah. So that stuff would be really mercurial, like it would change from night to night. Yeah. And sometimes a bit would go on a lot longer than other times if people weren't reacting.
Yeah, I understand that. There was it's funny you mentioned Cliff Saunders. And again, I think this is the first time we mentioned Blythe on the show, but it won't be the last. And I remember he had an exit from, remember this?
It's just that Cliff Saunders is a shit disturber on stage,
he's
right?
Totally.
Yeah. And he's always trying to give the bird.
Yes.
Have you noticed this?
Yes.
I've got pictures of him where it's a group shot and he's doing this, like in every single one of them, right? Yeah.
He likes to get away with shit. Yeah. We would time, I forget who the stage manager was. I think it may have been Tanya Grieve.
It would have been Tanya.
The Black Bonspiel, William McCrimmon.
Yes.
And there was an exit that he would do with Dennis Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And he was playing pipe fitting. And so he had this plunger that he would like figured out all the gags with the plunger. Right? Throw the plunger, stick to the ground, stick to the the plunger would stick, and then he would try to get it off, and then the devil would and then we would. The last line would end, and it would the next stage direction was pipe fitting exits stage right. And we would time between that line and when he actually got off stage. It was about a minute and a half. Like he would all this business, and every night it got longer,
it's comic genius,
and more funny,
really
and
is.
more funny.
Yeah,
and
no,
more
he's one of the best clowns I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So he won't come in from the barn.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay, so he won't come in from the barn. We had chickens on stage, right? And they were down left in front of the pros. And you remember, we built the stage up, so you had a plug that you could put in there, right? So we had the plugs in. All this stuff. Yeah. And the chicken coop was right there. And he had an entrance sort of out of there. Oh, no, it was a half plug. Yeah. You could come through the pros, come up some stairs, right? Yeah. But there was partial plug there. Anyways, every time before he entered, the chickens would go crazy. Yeah. And then I finally asked him about it, and he said, oh, yeah, I go under the stage, and there's a hole under the chickens, and I take a broomstick and I stick it up and down. I make the chickens go crazy, and then I make my entrance. He never told anyone. He just kept doing this.
He's a little shit. That
a little
guy.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's so funny.
That's funny.
I remember being at God, what was he in at YPT that I did? Many things, but what was
Jacob
it?
Tutu, maybe?
Pinocchio. He was Pinocchio. And we were opening night of Pinocchio, and it was an evening show, right? Because the openings at YPT used to be evenings. I don't know if they still are, but they were then, 7:00. And we were having drinks, and the YPT lobby, those stairs that kind of go down to a landing, and then they turn around on 180 and they go down. It's like 3 or 4 of those. So I'm sort of down at the bottom of those talking to somebody in the lobby, and Cliff's up at the top. And he turns around to me and he goes, hey! And he's really drunk. Hey, hey! And he turns around and he goes, boom! And he falls head over heels all the way down the stairs to the landing, like about 8 stairs. And they're concrete, I believe, right? And really spectacularly, bang, lands on his back. Stands up, goes, hey, hey! And he does it again. And he points his finger at me and he comes right at me and he falls completely down, like completely head over heels at my feet. I freaked out. This is opening night. He's Pinocchio, right? He's broken all his bones is what I think. He was fucking around. He wasn't drunk at all. He was playing around. He got up and said, I've just been working on this. You give me a fucking heart attack. What are you doing? Like, insane. But, he's always... I love Cliff Saunders. I think Cliff Saunders is a really great guy, and he's not a typical actor at all.
Okay, so Theatre Columbus. Let's talk about the anger of Ernest and Ernestine. So you've done the show 8 or 9.
I think it's actually 7.
7 times. Yeah. 20. You've done the show 27 times.
20 million times.
So tell me about you. We've already talked a little bit about it, but how did you? How did you get into designing it? You weren't the original designer, right?
So this was the second show I did with Theatre Columbus. The first was the Melancholia show. And so I wasn't really established. I just kind of helped them out. And when they went to do that show, Ernest and Ernestine, it was at the Poor Alex. And they had, still to this day, don't actually know how they contacted this friend of mine who was not a theater guy. He's an artist. And they had him design the set. I actually still don't remember how the connection was made because it wasn't through me, even though we were friends. And I lit it at the Poor Alex with 30 lights, most of which were Fresnels. And I was involved, like we didn't really have a TD. So I was sort of the TD as well with the guy who designed it. And it featured a stair, which is, they live in a basement apartment. Right, so the set is a basement apartment, and it's a story of a couple. And those of you who do not know, it's a story of Ernest and Ernestine who have this idyllic relationship, where they move into a basement apartment together, and it all goes to shit. And it's all about the dissolution of a relationship. And the set had this cantilevered stair that, and in the Poor Alex, which had a 9'10" grid, I believe, off the. So you would come up the back of it, and then you get on these stairs, and the stairs would go down. They were counterweighted. And then as you got off it, the stairs would go back up again. The whole idea was it was a basement apartment, and they barely had enough room, right? So this became a feature of the set. And, of course, they did all kinds of latsies with the stair that went up and down, up and down. Well, opening night, as I say, the Poor Alex shows, the typical schedule was you had, I think it was a 2-week run. And you would load in on a Monday or late Sunday if you were good friends with the people who were striking the night before. Because with the Poor Alex, they just gave you the keys. Right. Like you supplied your own technician, you supplied everything. They just gave you the keys. So you could be in there 24 hours a day, which we were often. Anyway, so you would go in on a Monday, and then you would usually open on the Wednesday. Yeah. Sometimes, I think as we got more sophisticated, we'd make it Thursday. Right. But typically it was like Wednesday.
That's not an unusual schedule to me for that time period. Like even now,
well, think about it now. Yeah. I think I would be challenged to take a show in on a Monday and have it open on a Wednesday. I would be challenged to do that with my skill set now. I don't know how we did it with no skills.
But common. Like I remember doing that all the time with those small shows, right?
Yeah. But you also had 4 weeks rehearsal, which was different in that you came in a little bit more prepared. Although in Theatre Columbus's case, not necessarily, because they were still changing it all the time. So it was, but the model was 4 weeks of rehearsal. And then it went to 3.5, then it went to 3, then it went to 2.5, and now it's 2.5, including previews, I think, in some places, right? Yeah, so opening, anyway, so we didn't have any time. And things like masking and stuff like that was done at the last minute, or painting the floor. I remember sitting in a lobby of a show that I hadn't worked on, and I heard this sound coming out of the Poor Alex, and it was a blow dryer, and somebody was blow drying the paint on the stage as we were at the half, and they opened the house like at 5 minutes before 8 because they were blow drying the set. Yeah. So the last Roger West was the like the space guy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And he at the last minute they wanted to put a mask. We realized that we could see like through this stair. You could see it needed masking, right? Yeah. So at the last minute, he goes with his screw gun. He gets an old piece of black flat from somewhere, and he goes, and he screws it up. Yeah. So the show begins. Martha walks out onto the stair, and he'd put the masking flat in such a way that it interfered with the cantilever, so it wouldn't go down. The stair just stayed there. So there's the opening of this new play. Yeah. She couldn't make an entrance. There was no way to get on the stage at all, right? And Roger rushes back with a crowbar and literally rips it off with a crowbar, like in the middle of the show, right? Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah, exactly, right? Excellent. Now, you had an opportunity to... So first of all, how does Sue LePage fit into this trajectory as well?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I was a freelancer and just doing whatever work I could get, right? And because I'd been a TD at U of T, I would get jobs as a production manager or technical director, or sometimes shows I was designing, sometimes shows I was not designing. And Goodnight Desdemona, it was not the original production of it, but it was the sort of second production of it. It had a national tour. And they were looking for a touring TD. And because I had when I first graduated at Ottawa U, actually I didn't go directly to Toronto. I had a job with Le Groupe de la Place Royale, which is a modern dance company in Ottawa. Yeah. For some reason they hired me as their quote unquote stage manager, lighting designer. Okay. So I was with them for a season before I moved to Toronto. So what was the point of that? Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, so I had experiences touring. Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying. Right. So Desdemona was going to do this 4-city tour. Yeah. And it was a proper, 2.5 weeks in each city. Yeah. I started in Ottawa, and they hired me to do it, and Sue was a designer. Right. And I didn't know her, and she's, incredibly detailed and skilled and well-trained designer. And, we ended up driving to Stratford a number of times to pull costumes. Oh, right. Anyways, I would go with her. And because we both like to talk, we would just pep the whole time. We became friends. And she knew I was aspiring to be a designer. Yeah. And I was very insecure about my skill set and my lack of training, formal training, which I didn't have any. And she sort of just said, well, I remember for opening night of Desdemona, she gave me a mechanical pencil, a sharpener, an eraser, and a racing shield, and kind of a little kit, right? And a roll of vellum or something like that, some drafting dots. And then she gave me some instruction. And then after that, basically if I couldn't draw something, I'd ask her how, or if before I submitted a set of drawings, if it was super important. I was nervous about it, like early YPT stuff. Yeah. I would send it to her, and she would give me notes on it, how I should notate things and that sort of thing, because her drafting's beautiful. Yeah. And that's so she took it on her own, and this is what we were talking about before. Mentoring, I think, is super important, and I've tried to do that myself. In fact, I've mentored a couple of people that have, Raha Javanfars. I mentored her, and Andrea, I bet.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you were at the Poor Alex. Now, Theatre Columbus, what was your connection otherwise to the Poor Alex? Was it just working through Theatre Columbus?
So Theatre Columbus, yeah. Theatre Columbus, Melancholia. Then I did a Crow show there. So, when you were part of that group, there were four companies, I think, that were in the Poor Alex group. Yeah. They were called the Poor Alex group. Crows, Smith Gilmore, Columbus, and
is it Cameron?
No, I can't remember the fourth company.
What was Alex?
It may be
Daniel Brooks' company.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you mean they came after?
Oh, okay.
The one he did with Tracy and Don.
Yeah.
which I've now forgotten the name of. That's terrible.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name either. It's terrible.
But they were after.
Yeah.
And they were named after like an address or something, or a street or something like that.
Yeah. I'll find out. Yeah. And I'll put it in the show
notes. Because they did those great... shit, what's the name of that politician? Writer that... Chomsky. Noam Chomsky lectures.
Oh, yes. That was where Andrea Lundy comes into the picture because she worked with Daniel and that company in that space.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll figure out what the fourth company is.
Well, for example, Andrea, when we did 12th Night with Theatre Columbus, Andrea was my student. Okay. So when I taught at U of T, I interviewed, there were, I think, 12 people in the class, and I would usually get 50 or 60 students apply for it. So I would go through weeks of interviews. I don't know why I did this. And mostly it was like a job interview. It was like saying, how many courses are you carrying? Do you have a part-time job? How far away from the school do you live? And that sort of thing, to find out if people could put in the hours. And Andrea was one of them. And she was from Ottawa, and her mom had run Theatre 2000 in Ottawa, which I knew. But I didn't know her. She'd been like 7 years old or something like that. But as soon as I talked to her, I went, oh, well, this is a theater person. Like this. I always felt that Andrea was more of a colleague than a student. Always. I mean, I did teach her some. I'm sure I did. But mainly it was just that we developed together. And because I liked her so much, I started involving her in all the Theatre Columbus stuff that I was doing. Because I was still at U of T. I had to juggle it, and I built shows. We rehearsed at U of T. I got them cheap rehearsal space, and then we would build them in the space, build the shows. We didn't have shop or anything like that. I had tools there. And nobody cared. Nobody monitored it at all, right? So I just did it. And Andrea started doing everything with me. So the Fringe, for example, when I was the production manager, she was the TD. And we basically just did it together. And with Theatre Columbus, it started off that I would production manage and light the shows. Then I started designing the shows, and she would production manage the shows. And then with 12th Night, I remember I had it was Desdemona was a conflict because that show had to tour, and every 2 weeks or 3 weeks I had to go and move it to the next city. And there was a conflict with 12th Night. Something around, like I missed a day, and we had such a short time. So it was like a crucial day or something. So I remember saying to Andrea, why don't we co-design lighting? And she went, oh, I'm not a designer. I don't want to do it. And I said, oh, come on, like, it'll be fine. I'll come back. And, and I was young, and it was pretty simple. I realize now anyway what we were doing, but it felt huge. And I had to convince her to do it. She just said, I'm not a designer. I don't have that. And that was basically it. Like she started to become a designer after that. Like, it was just luck, as I say. It wasn't like I had a plan to turn her into a designer. But
no, but still, like, to see that in her and to trust her and to maybe give her the cue that, no, this is now the next thing you should
Andrea,
be doing.
like, it doesn't take much to see the potential in that person.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's incredible that she was kind of just a bit hesitant at first, right? Given her
she was never comfortable
now.
being a designer. Actually, I think. I mean, I have to ask her that. I don't know if you've interviewed her or not, but
yeah, we spoke. This is why I'm speaking to you now. It was a bit about that connection. I'm like, Glenn, like, I didn't know about your history in the '80s, and I was like, no, we have to talk to Glenn about the Fringe. Sure. And so, she. I mean, it sounds like you were pretty instrumental in getting her into that group, and then getting her connected to Daniel later, and like that sort of
sure. I think it was a small group, and so if you were at the Poor Alex doing stuff, everybody knew you.
Tell me about how your memory of how the Fringe got started, how you got involved with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the early designs I did was with a company that Julian Richings and his partner Cheryl May and Gregory Nixon had developed, called. Shit, that's terrible. God damn it. Is it on the list? It's on there, yeah. Hashish was the show.
Sorry, now we're looking for the company, right?
Yeah. I can't remember. Oh, shit, that's terrible. We kind of existed for a couple of shows. We did The Blue Egg as well, which was a James O'Reilly play. I don't know if you remember James O'Reilly.
Flexible packaging plant.
Oh yeah, that's it. Flexible packaging plant. What a great name.
I know, right?
And so Gregory Nixon, who was one of the founders of that company, I had designed set and lights for that show. And it was a very small, like 5 people, right? And so he became the producer of the first Fringe, and he approached me and said, "Do you want to be the production manager?" Or TD, or I can't remember what we called me. And Andrea was my assistant. Well, I needed help.
Sure.
Yeah. And we thought so, and it was also at the Poor Alex. So it was a space that I was familiar with. It was at 3 venues. We had the Poor Alex, we had the Palmerston Library,
Right.
and we
which
had
is now the kids venue, or has been the kids venue for the Fringe in the
and
past. but
Sneaky
it's-
D's.
Oh yeah.
So those were the venues. Like only one of them was a theater. And even then, that's kind of dubious, like the Poor Alex, you know. And we repped. So what we would do, we learned eventually.
How many shows were in the first? You said 3 venues.
50 shows in
50
3 venues.
shows.
And really only one of the venues was a theater. Palmerston Library we used as a theater. I mean, it had lights and seats. You know.
There's not really a backstage area though.
No.
in Palmerston. It's just
I
like a
actually
back
don't
wall.
remember. It's like a dressing room, I think, kind of thing. But and the stage itself is like a little thrust. It's like,
it's like
not-
at an angle to the audience too. It's
yeah,
weird, little
it's one of
kinda
these weird-
jammed into the
yeah. Some
basement kind of thing.
architect made it fit.
Yeah.
yeah. But I saw the first Napalm the Magnificent there, like when he did his first production of Napalm. I saw that, and that was brilliant. And I saw Sensible Footwear first time. The first time I ever, they became my good friends.
Great. So 50 venues.
Yeah,
50 shows?
50 productions. And what we would do is we teched every one of them ourselves. I know, we were crazy. Like either she did it or I would do it. But we would tech every single one of them ourselves. And then when we were running it, we would show up at every performance to make sure it happened on time. And that the changeover went, and you know, all those things. And we were present at every changeover for the entire Fringe, either she or me. Well, we didn't know any other way to do it. We were too nervous to leave it up to anyone else, so we just did it ourselves. And we were making it up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Any other kind of remarkable productions from that?
Well, definitely Napalm the Magnificent. I remember that he would do this thing where he would. I don't know if you know it. Have you ever seen it? No. Oh, he does that dwarf thing where he straps his legs like this, so he looks like a dwarf. Yes. And he pulls himself around on blocks and stuff, and he's a buffoon, so he insults his audience. And he would do things like sell stale buns in the lobby before the show that you could throw at him. Oh. And then at intermission, he would collect them all up and sell them back to you. Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, that show's brilliant. That show's really brilliant. You know, it's all about your shit and looking at your shit and, you know, and like all this really super inappropriate stuff, right? But he pushes you. I was knocked out. And then I did another production of it later on, like where you did a full production of Napalm. Napalm the Magnificent is the name of the character.
Who's the actor?
David Craig.
Oh, David Craig.
Yeah, wrote it and performed it, and his son has done it too.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
He can't do it because his legs. It's like really bad for your knees.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
you strap your legs like this.
Yeah.
And then he had his. I think Laurie Hickling designed it actually, a costume which looked like a suit coat that went. So it looked like he just had these little legs. She made pants for him that were like this long with cuffs and stuff. But it's because when he was up like this, essentially his waist became here. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Odd.
You can't see this on radio, but it's basically knees to chest.
Yeah. It's like it's like you're in a crouch.
Yeah.
And then you put a belt around your ankles and around your back to keep you in that position. And then you couldn't make steps, so you had to. He would use these 2 blocks on his hands that he would plunk down and sort of bring himself forward like on crutches almost, right? Yeah. And I designed a multi-level set for him because he wanted levels, partly because he was so short. When he would do this, he'd be 3 foot. Oh, right. So lighting him, for example, when you were focusing for the show, you were focusing at your crotch essentially, right? Because that's where his head was, the head height.
It's like lighting for for puppetry, for marionettes.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And when I designed the set and all these levels, I couldn't make any of the steps more than about 3 inches because he had to jump up onto the step. He couldn't step up onto the step. The ergonomics of the set were completely different. Yeah. So that one, Chip and the Sugar for sure. The Sensible Footwear.
And that's with Alex Dallas. And her partner.
There are 3 of them.
Just 3 of them. I'll figure it out. We'll go again. Show notes. I'll list the names.
Alex and Allison Fields.
Yeah.
And Wendy Vousden.
Wendy Vousden. Nice.
Yeah. They were so funny, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Beats are like anal sex. That was one of my favorite ones. Beats are like anal sex. People are always trying to convince you like them.
Nice. Oh, my goodness. That's funny.
Yeah. So I actually sponsored them to come to Canada. They're part of their citizenship.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because they were from the UK. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Originally.
Yeah. Alex still lives just down the street.
Yeah.
She does they are some kind of funny, those girls. Boy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
They are they're quite the company. Yeah. All right. So the Fringe, so that's great. And then the second year, what changed?
We added a venue and got rid of a venue, I think. We ended up at the Glen Morris. Which is a cool little venue. I know people don't use that so much, but it's a cool little venue. Still, I think. And that was the second year. And I think that was it. I think I didn't do it after 2 years.
You were done, eh?
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of work. And the pay was terrible. It wasn't really about the pay. It was just that it was grueling. Like you had to be, because we thought we had to be at every changeover, which really wasn't the case. Actually, I think the second year we got venue technicians that we could trust or whatever, and we had a bit more of a system down. And by that time, I think Andrea then did it. I think she did it after 3 or 4 years later. Yeah. And I just didn't want to do it anymore.
It is kind of one of those gigs that's kind of a succession, right? So the after Andrea, she brought on Michelle and Kim Pertel and a bunch of other people.
Oh, yeah.
And then they eventually took over as PM, and then Shauna Miller joined.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a succession of people as they train new people to do that role. Because you have to live it once before you actually do any, like you can't just hire somebody off the street and say, run the Fringe. No. You need to have experienced it, a bit of venue tech, like know how things work, where the rules are before you can throw somebody into that madness. Yeah. Right?
I think probably what helped me was I had worked at Harbourfront. Yeah. And Harbourfront is a single day setup and show kind of place and multi-venue, and you do all kinds of different things. You have to do it quickly. You got a group comes in with a house plot and go, oh, we need this, So it felt like it was not that much of a stretch.
Great. And then how the poor Alex, I remember that you brought me into a show with Andrew Ackman and Jack Nicholson. And again, I've talked about this on the show as well. But that was in 94. I did? I know. You did the set, I think.
What show?
It was a big jungle gym. I don't remember the show.
Oh, at the Theatre Center on Queen Street.
Wasn't that at the Poor Alex?
No. I think, no. It was at the Theatre Center on Queen Street. And it was a jungle gym. And it had sound triggers all over the set.
Contact mics and everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was at
the Theatre Center.
Yeah, which became a sex club.
I know. They have a much nicer venue now, though.
What?
The Theatre Center.
Hoodoo. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was a hole. I mean, it was, you went down the basement of that place. That was scary shit, man. Yeah, I remember some late nights in that place. It was scary.
I totally forgot. I totally thought it was at the
No, it was at the we put we turned the seating around. We had the seating at the other end. And who directed it? Greenblatt directed it, right?
Greenblatt directed it,
I think Greenblatt directed it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it was like I guess I designed the junk. Yeah, and you lit it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I could swear it was at the...
Because I'd forgotten about that show, and it was like a vanity project. It was a one-man show.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew wrote the play.
And then he stopped acting, I think.
I know, yeah. I never saw him again.
No, I think he became a lawyer or something.
Yeah, that's right.
He made money.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Great. So anything else in that? When did you sort of... Because the Poor Alex kind of ceased to be in the mid-90s, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was getting... there was a guy that owned the building, a British guy, who was a philanthropist, a true philanthropist, and he basically gave most of those companies. I don't know if they were free, but he had this idea of an arts community, So all of those companies that were housed in the floors above, the poor Alex, his idea was to have he was an independently wealthy guy. He had 2 adopted sons, because that guy, I think he either died or he moved back to England. I can't remember. And then Joe was his son's name, and I think Joe finally sold it or something. And that was basically it. It became more of a real estate issue than anything else. But I think when the father was either died or went back to England, again, this is a long time ago, I don't really remember. He was the reason that in fact, that guy should be honored in some way. And now that I think of it, because none of those companies would have been able to survive or develop the way that they did had it not been for him. He was a true arts philanthropist, and it's interesting he was a Brit. Wasn't even Canadian,
I don't suppose you remember his name.
I want to say Bill. Who would definitely know these things would be Jennifer Bruin.
Sure, yeah.
Because
maybe I'll contact
she was the administrator at Theatre Columbus,
right,
when I started working for them.
Right.
So long before she became the artistic director.
Right.
Many, many years. She went off and did Caravan and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'll contact her and see, because that's important. Again,
she will remember that guy's name. I think Bill seems to come to mind, or William, or...
Yeah, again, I'll put it in the show notes, and then I'll maybe make a note. I think that I'll probably mention it in the intro.
That guy was hugely, and I think about it, that without someone like that, I don't know how any of those companies would have got their start. And those are all fairly major companies. Smith, Gilmore, Crows, Theatre Columbus.
And the other one.
I want to say Autumn Angel, or Autumn Leaf. Tom Sokolowski's company.
Oh, I think that you're right. I want
to say that
part of that. Yeah. He must have come from
I
the
was never really
theater center.
part of that company, but I think that was the fourth company.
I think you're right. I think maybe I've mentioned it in previous episodes, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. Which is odd, because he does opera, new opera.
Well, that's what they were doing there too.
Yeah.
Autumn Leaf was doing sort of music-based stuff. Right.
Interesting. I did the alchemical wedding of Hermes Trismegistos down at Union Station.
Oh, yeah.
Which is part of the R. Murray Schafer series. Yeah. And that was my first pro gig in Toronto in my first summer that I was here at theater school.
Jesus.
And it was
it's massive.
My God.
Yeah.
It was a big, I was a lighting tech for it.
Right.
And a guy named David Owen was the lighting designer. He was a film guy, and he was a cinematographer. Yeah. And he did work down at the Independent Film Center, Toronto Center for Independent Film, wherever it is, as just training people to be cinematographers. So he's a cinematographer, and he got brought in by Tom to do the lighting, which was giant because it was all architectural. We were shooting lamps through the clerestory windows at the top of the thing. We had lights on the roof.
HMIs, I bet.
This was just when Source 4s had been invented, and we had a bunch of 10 degrees on stands and pars blowing through these things. We didn't have the power for HMI, on the roof. There's not a lot of...
Right.
We had to run cable all the way back, SOCA everywhere. Right. So we couldn't run 5Ks up there. There was no way we could power up there. Well, we could, but I imagine it would have been
really expensive. Just the weight of the cable to get up there.
Plus dimming, plus it had to stay up there for several weeks, so you couldn't use a shutter.
Oh, right.
Because we were running... I think that it had to be waterproof or weatherproof.
At least rated.
And then we would, of course, it was still Union Station, and we had to clean everything up. It ran from midnight to 3, and the last train would leave at 11:30 or 11:15, and then we'd roll out the seating risers, clear out the thing, unbag the lights, put the things that were false.
I never saw it. I wish I had.
It was massive.
Oh, I wish I'd seen it.
It was great. Yeah. And telebeams, we had telebeams.
And that was early technology.
Telebeams run off of a separate controller,
of course,
triggered by something. Who knows? I have no idea. I can't remember. And then at 3, John Kelly Cuthbertson was the TD. Yeah, it was great fun. And then we would go back to John.
Kill you?
No, it was
didn't
awesome.
Wreck anything.
We had so much fun.
John Kelly Cuthbertson.
Oh, he was a tower. Yeah.
Oh my God,
he was a bit of a storm.
Oh my God, he wrecked my car.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Remember the set reset down at the foot of Bathurst?
Yeah, at the Loblaws building.
You know how you drove up into it?
Yes,
you
the ramp.
go in and you drive up a ramp?
Yeah.
So you could drive in.
Yeah.
So I drove in my Honda Prelude.
Yeah.
which was I love that car.
Yeah.
And I parked it. Like you just kind of park it, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
it was just up there. You just park it. I parked it, and I was off doing something, and John Kelly wanted a piece of floor to lay something out. Yeah. So he got in my car, and he moved it, and he used the parking brake, which I never used, right? And he seized my brakes. It cost me $400. Yeah, I was so fucking pissed at him.
I can imagine. We would finish the night at about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. And then we would go to John Kelly's place to drink until about 11. Everyone's going to work. We're on like, woo, more whiskey. It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I like John. He's a good guy.
Hi there. Yeah, I know this interview is going really well, but before you skip ahead, just shuffle over to the show notes if you could and click on the link to the Patreon page for the title block. It does cost money to produce this time capsule of theater design history, and for a couple of bucks an episode, you can ensure that I can continue to put out great interviews with designers like Glenn Davidson. Go to patreon.com/the title block podcast and donate now. Thank you for your help. So let's catch up with, I think we beat the Fringe to death, as it were. Many of us have wished that we did that time to time. The Tarragon, you said, was your next.
Yeah, my first kind of
like
legitimate theater show. Because at the time, I'm sorry, Theater Columbus, you were legitimate, but you were fledgling and, you didn't have a building. And the Tarragon was an established theater, and I knew of them. And Urjo Carreta was, like a giant, and deservedly so. And Sula Page. So Sula Page was designing there a lot. And she took it upon herself. Like I said, she just decided that I had something that she thought needed to be developed. And she basically, I think she basically went to them and said, you should hire this guy, give him something. And they did. At the time, Judith Thompson was a playwright in residence that year, and she was writing Line in the Streets, which was premiering. And they decided, as part of that in the extra space, because main space had Line in the Streets premiering, that we would revive Crackwalker. Right. And so it was co-directed by Urjo and Andy McKim. Yeah. And Urjo being not really a director in some ways, in that he wasn't often real comfortable in front of a group of people. Yeah. So, Andy would be sort of like the mouthpiece in a way, and Urjo would sit quietly and give notes, and you'd hear notes from Urjo, but usually secondhand. Yeah. And I was I was so intimidated because excuse me. I had never designed anything from scratch. Yeah. And I was given a play which is very kitchen sink reality, and it's not my thing. Yeah. Like I've never been particularly attracted to it, or I don't know. I didn't know how to approach it. And so I remember Andy McKim and I had decided we would drive to Kingston and visit all the places that are mentioned in the play. Right. I just needed to immerse myself in some way. And so we did. We drove and we drank a beer in every place. And we were driving home, and on the 401, I noticed these culverts that go underneath the highway. Okay. And they're concrete, and they're sort of like a truncated pyramid shape looking. Even though the hole in them is rectangular or square, but the shape of the thing is sort of like a truncated pyramid, flaring out towards the base. And I also had noticed, because it was a hot day in Kingston, that everywhere we went, the roads were in rough shape, and the asphalt was cracked and heaving, and it's called the crack walker. And it really struck me that these people spent a lot of time on the street, and so I tried to kind of literally give them a heaving pavement with cracks and like an asphalt, with a drain in the center, which was basically not round, but it was roundish. Yeah. And it had this culvert, which was the main entrance that you came through. Yeah. And there's a character in the Crackwalker the native character, who also in our production appeared behind, like I used bug screen, and it would be on top of this culvert. And so I presented this thing. I made it out of foam core, and I painted it about 14 times, and I built the model. I didn't know what I was doing, and I took it in to present it, and I was very, very intimidated by Urjo, mostly, not just because of who he was, and he sat and he looked down, and he didn't say a lot, and he said, "Man, I really like it. It's a Greek. The play is a Greek tragedy, and you've designed a play with a vomitorium and a Greek." I didn't see that or had not intended that at all. Well, he saw that. It made me think about it afterwards, whether that meant it was invalid or not. I don't know. The fact that he saw that, maybe I did too subconsciously. I don't know. But I do remember getting this incredible boost of confidence from him seeing something in it and being excited about it. Even if it wasn't what I'd intended, I was just relieved that he'd accepted it. And that he'd gone for it, because it was pretty out there, a design. I mean, there was a couch and a chair and a stove and a coffee table, I think. And it's all set in kitchens and in very much sort of realistic environments. And there was nothing realistic about it at all. And it was my first real design. So, yeah. Nice. And then I did many shows at Tarragon after that, while Urjo was still alive. Yeah. And then after he died, I never did another show there. I did one last year, though. Yeah.
Nice. Which one was that?
Undercover.
Nice. Did you do Fronteras Americanas?
I did.
The first one?
Fronteras Americanas.
Yes.
Yeah, in the extra space.
Yeah, I saw that show.
Oh, yeah.
It was on a rake, I think, wasn't it?
It was a rake. It was a ramp.
A ramp. That's right.
Yeah, it was a rake, but it was really a ramp. It was quite steep.
Yeah.
And it split in the middle at what we called the Panama Canal.
Right.
It was like a ramp, and then there was a gap, and then there was a platform at the back, and we used to call that the Panama Canal because it was the set was a map, like a kind of not a real map, like because the projection surfaces were I cut out of this 4-inch solid styro that they had in the shop. And it was free. That's why I used it. And we cut it out into these vaguely continental shapes, and then we projected on them. But we projected like with an ectographic projector, slide projector.
That's right.
Literally. And we had video as well with a big old 3-gun video projector.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that show is all multimedia. It's a lot of him indicating with a pointer, basically... it's a funny show. And then we remounted it at Soul Pepper, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's Guillermo Verdecchia.
Guillermo Verdecchia, yeah.
Awesome.
One of my favorite productions, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No,
definitely.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I was so impressed by it. I saw it in 90, was it here?
I was going to say 93.
93 sounds right.
Yeah, because I remember getting fired from YPT while I was doing that show.
Oh, God. Do you want to tell that story?
Sure.
Okay. How does one get fired from YPT?
So I'd been hired as to design as a resident designer for the season, I think 92 season or 93 season. And I was to design sets they had 4 shows. But one of the shows was in rep. So Pinocchio was in rep with Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, yeah. And so it was the same set. So I co-designed that with Teresa Shabilsky. And I designed the set on the first show, and she designed the set on the last show, and I lit them all. Right. That's what I was hired to do. Right. So the first show went very well. Maya directed it. Beauty and the Beast, it was called.
That's Maya Ardal, right?
Maya Ardal, yeah. Beauty and the Beast. And she was very happy with it. Told me that it was the best lighting design she'd ever seen. Right, yes. And then Greenblatt directed Pinocchio. Yeah, right. And that was Maristella Roca's script, and it was whacked. Oh, yeah. It was so far out there. We had people, Rick Roberts traversed from the booth to the back wall of YPT. If you go to YPT right now and you go out the back outside of YPT, there's a big plate on the back of the wall in the alleyway. That John Stead made us put that plate in to anchor the traverse line. He started the show over the audience's head.
That's crazy.
That was insane, that show. I mean, we brought people down in the audience into the aisles upside down, like being lowered. Yeah. Cricket was lowered into the aisle upside down. Oh, yeah. Robin Craig was Pigeon, and she was lowered from one of the catwalks, front of house catwalks, but she was swinging. Like upstage, downstage, upstage, downstage, and they timed it so that as they got lower and lower and lower, and the arc got bigger and bigger and bigger, by the time she got to stage level, she was basically just stepping onto the stage, right? It was really beautiful. And it was Craig, the carpenter, Craig
Blackley?
Yeah.
Not Craig Blackley.
No, Craig, oh dear. He was the flyman.
Yeah.
He wasn't the carpenter there, he was the flyman.
He was the flyman. Craig, oh my God.
We spent all our money, half of our budget was spent on harnesses.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Because I had to be safe.
Well, Pinocchio, everybody was flying all the time.
Can't remember.
We did this thing where it was a 2-level set, and you'd clip people into harnesses, and they'd be on the ground, and people would be standing on the second level, and they'd jump and pull the rope, and you would pull them up, and then the next person would jump and pull them up higher, and each time someone jumped, they would pull somebody up taller and taller, or higher and higher. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was talking about how I got fired. Yeah. So Pinocchio was really good, and Jackie Maxwell was directing Midsummer Night's Dream, and I went to have a meeting with Jackie, and she'd seen Pinocchio, and Pinocchio was really dark. Like, it was a dark show. I don't just mean physically dark. It was a dark show, and it'd been lit with really angular and really uplighting and a lot of kind of nightmarish sort of looking stuff. And she was worried. She'd seen it, and she knew that Dream had to be lit out of it, like it was in rep. Oh, I see. And she was worried. And I said, don't worry, it's that show, and I have another 60 or 70 lamps to add, and plus color changes, and it's going to look different. Like, it will. Trust me, it will. Well, I thought that I had her confidence. Apparently, I didn't. Because I was in tech at Tarragon, and I got a call from Maya to go and meet me at the donut shop on Bathurst Street, just south of DuPont. I don't think it might be gone now. Galaxy Donuts, or maybe it was, or I don't know. It was a donut shop. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
Just south.
Yeah.
And in fact, Cliff Saunders to this day talks about me getting the golden donut. That's what he calls it. I know, Cliffy. And she met me there, and she said, I think your streets ahead as a lighting designer than you are as a set designer. Or it's the other way around. Yeah. Streets ahead as a set designer than you are as a lighting designer. Right. I'm just not having confidence and let you go. Right. And I was like, well, I have a contract with all these these shows, right? And because it was for the season, they hadn't given me like 50% of the 4 contracts up front. They were doing it in installments, right? So I said, well, I've already, number one, designed the set for Dream and rep. Yeah. I did the rep for both shows, and I focused it. Yeah. And I've already started work on Dream. Yeah. The only show I haven't done is Whale, which was the last show. I hadn't done anything on it, right? Oh, she said, well, you can't talk to me about that. I have to talk to Martin, because Martin Zwicker was the pressure measure. And so I went to Martin, and Martin said, no, we don't owe you anything. I went, what? He said, no, we don't owe anything. It's like, yes, you fucking do. So I became the first case of arbitration in ADC history. Oh, wow. Yeah. Unsuccessful, although they thought it was successful. They ended up getting me the retainer on the 3rd show. Like the first installment. Right. On the 3rd show. On the 3rd show. Is what I got. And they were happy. Right. They thought that was a victory. Right. That's when I left ADC. Yeah. Because I felt like, well, if you think that that's power, you're a wimp. Like, that's like, and then I suffered for years of insecurity, thinking I was a shitty lighting designer. I really had a hard time with it. Because even though I didn't believe, and what did I get a Dora nomination for? Pinocchio. Yeah. Pinocchio. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because it was probably a beautiful show.
And you took
sure,
risks.
whatever. You know what? Like I said to her at the time, it's like, this is subjective. You don't like my work. I can't argue with you about it. Like, you don't like it. That's fine. I like Picasso. You don't. Whatever. I'm not saying I'm Picasso. You know what I mean? Like, it's subjective, right? It's art. It's subjective. But you have contractual obligations that you have to keep. If you want to let me go, that's fine. It's going to hurt my feelings, but not my pocketbook. No. And it did. Yeah. I turned down work. It was a season gig, and I was hot. Like I was right at my peak, man. I was doing shit everywhere. I was hot. I really was. I was one of the, properties then. And, I went, and then it fucked me up too.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'd never been fired from a job ever in my life, ever.
A lot has to go wrong for people to get fired in this business. Like you have to do, you have to be nowadays I imagine
I was so embarrassed, Michael. I can't tell you. I was embarrassed beyond belief.
Yeah.
Humiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of which I didn't think it was warranted. I never got a chance. Like if I had gone in and done a shit job and she'd fired me, that'd be one thing. But she anticipated I was going to do a shit job and I got fired. And that didn't feel fair. Anyway.
It's the past. Yeah. But it's an interesting story.
We all have imposter syndrome, right?
Oh my God, yes.
We all do.
Yeah.
And all we need is the slightest hint that it's warranted.
Yeah.
And we go right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you can imagine, actors on stage are so vulnerable to these to the whims of the audience and the play.
Oh, God,
and, they're up there naked and sometimes literally. And, but we're all kind of being judged by our peers all the time.
All the time.
That's how you get work.
Yeah.
Or how you don't get work.
Or how you don't get work.
Right?
Yeah. And not just your work, but your comportment, your personality, you're pitching stuff constantly.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of confidence, right? And we all think we have it, and of course we're all dreadfully, insecure.
No, it feels risky too, where you're like that. You like the thing when you talked about bringing the Crackwalker set in, and you're like this could go sideways quickly, right? Yeah. Here's the idea, and I don't think until mid-career, 5, 6, 7 years in of my design career, I was actually confident in going, I've got all these ideas, which is unfortunate because early on you've got a lot of new, fresh, weird looks on things. But you don't know how to present it.
I know.
You have the confidence to sell it.
I know.
Or to sort of say, I don't know how to make this work yet, but we're going to make it work.
Yeah. And you get a bit more cautious once you know what you can do. You start relying on what you can do, and you don't think about trying to do the things that you can't. Yeah. Whereas when you're starting out, you couldn't do any of them. So I think you're right about that. That's really true. Because there's things I do now. Well, I'll just do them because I know that will work. Yeah. Not necessarily it's the best thing. I know it will work, and so I'll go there because I know it will work.
Yeah, I call it a bag of tricks. I think when I spoke to Kevin Lamont, which was the second episode of the show, we talked about this kind of bag of tricks that you get. And you have this exciting fire of beginning of your career where you're trying a whole bunch of different things, and then you figure out what you like to do, and you start to narrow down into this kind of center way. Mm-hmm. And I think it shows the real kind of creative. It takes a lot of creativity to get to that point. So I don't want to belittle. I don't want to sort of minimize the talent someone has as for the follow through of that bag of tricks, because that can be hard won series of things, lessons learned that produce beautiful results. But the people who are continually reinventing themselves after that point are the ones that let themselves take the risks, and they fail a lot. Right. But the stuff that doesn't fail sometimes is really beautiful, right? But you got to find that.
I know, and then sometimes you'll find, like, for example, I did a show called Dr. Dappertudo with Theatre Columbus. Right. And it was set in a million different places, like Theatre Columbus always is. And I was trying to design a set that would be all those things. And I hit upon this kind of idea, you have to think about it in plan view of 2 L's. Yeah. And each one was an arch and a half. Okay, in an L. So you had 2 L's in an arch and then a half arch, right? And I had 2 of them. So I could move them around and create like a Z or a U or whatever. You can imagine if you put L's together in different configurations, you can get different shapes, right? And I combined them with a fixed set of 3 arches that were upstage that were fixed and had doors in them. They would kind of laugh indoors. You could go in and out. And it was, and the 2 L-shaped things were on little casters and they rolled around. It was a poor Alex. It was made out of styrofoam. It didn't weigh anything. And they were stucco. And it was set in Mexico, and the nuclear test in Mexico in the 50s or something like this with the time of the show. And I loved the idea so much, like these L's. I loved them. Like I went, I want to do this again. So then I got hired to do Romeo and Juliet, the ballet for Ballet Jorgen. And there was a touring show. And they needed, again, multiple settings. And I essentially took the Dr. Dappertudo design, completely changed the arches so they became Italian arches, Renaissance arches with proper capitals and columns, and so they instead of just being a solid block stucco kind of wall, they became these much more elegant things, and they were built at Banff, people who knew what they were doing, and they were gorgeous, and they rolled around like on these beautiful casters, and they were integrated into the choreography to the point where when they choreographies in ballets get sold or get used, right? Like the Cranko used to be the R&J that everybody did. Well, Bengt did this new choreography, and it was exciting, and it was very good at choreography. And the Hong Kong Ballet were so interested in it, they bought it. They bought the choreography. And in order to do that, they had to buy the set. Because the set was integrated into the choreography. So I literally, and this was pre-internet, I literally put a roll of drawings in a tube and I sent it to Shanghai or Hong Kong, and I got a check for $5,000. And that was all I did. And I actually, and they loved it, except the way we'd done the balcony they didn't like. They wanted something more literal than what we'd done. And so I had to redesign one piece that was like a little balcony, that was a little piece that they brought on just for that. And I remember years later, when the internet actually was out there, I Googled it, and I found a picture of Juliet stepping off my balcony of a set piece I had never ever seen. I designed it, but I'd never seen it because it was built in Hong Kong. And I never saw the show at all. I never saw the paint. I don't know how it was white marble, but I don't know what their white marble looked like. I sent pictures and stuff, but
that's crazy.
Yeah. And then, so that idea for that, the idea of these L's, I have used that. I almost embarrassed to tell you how many times I've used that for these very similar, like I'll get in these shows, they don't have a lot of money. They got 14 locations. It's like, well, and I've done variations on this. In fact, as recently, so last year, I was asked to do the show called Undercover, which is Rebecca Norton show, and she did Blind Date. And the premise of it's long form improv. So the premise of this one, it's a murder mystery, and they take the detective, a rookie detective, out of the audience, an actual audience member, and they bring them up on stage at the beginning of the show, and they're on stage for 2 hours, and they solve the murder. And it's like a clue setting. So it's in a big mansion. It's got a ton of rooms. It's got 4 bedrooms. It's got an attic. It's got a cellar. It's got a stable. It's got a drawing room. It's got, a bunch of different rooms. And because it's improv, you don't know what room you're going to next. Okay? And each room has to have things like clues in it. Right. Because there's clues, like paper clues or visual clues or this sort of thing are in there. So I had to design a set that could transform into all these different rooms with all these hidden compartments. They wanted hidden compartments and special things that would open and all this sort of stuff. And yet we didn't know. Sometimes we would do the show and you wouldn't go to 3 or 4 of the rooms that you designed. Just never went there. Or one time, I remember we never used to go to the stable. And then we went to the stable once, like in a week or something like that, So guess what I did? So you imagine an L, I used a Y. Okay, so I had basically 2 walls times 2 for each unit times 3. And I painted them different colors, and I give them different, and they were all paneled in the same way, so they all had the same similar architecture to them, but they were different colors, and they had panels that popped out and popped in, and because it was strapping, we used strapping, I used that, and we could, with earth magnets, pop panels in and out. It had a Murphy bed that folded down out of one of them, and it was all on casters, right? Things weighed about 1,500 pounds. They're massive, way overbuilt. But anyway, long story, but that's the same idea and totally looked different, completely different looking show, different function. But that's in my bag of tricks. That's a scenery system. And I think of that as a scenery system. Like Blythe, I did a lot of things on tracks, hanging tracks and stuff like that. Scenery systems. I like that. I get stuck on a system. Material, like for a long time, I did everything out of Tyvek and carved anything out of styrofoam. Right. I love those things, like Tyvek and styrofoam. He come from the barn, was all carved styrofoam beams, right?
Yeah, that's very familiar to me. And I wanted to say that barn, I mean, this is the first show I did when I came out of university.
Oh, yeah.
It was the first.
That's all right.
It was Leslie Wilkinson who got me that gig. It was great. But it was a barn. Like, I mean, you had styrofoam beams. They had barn wood, but then it was painted. You had Mattia Goldstein at the time.
Yep.
Painted it to look like a barn. It was so high fidelity for a set that was reppable.
I know.
And had beams in it. But they were...
Post and beam. It was all styro.
It was incredible.
Yeah. It's funny because I still to this day can carve like a mean styro beam. Like I can make it look like I'm so good at it because I made them all. I remember sitting out in the back with that massive, like these 10-foot long hollow. They didn't weigh anything because they were hollow styro on my lap. And I would be carving with a X-Acto and just moving along my lap. And there was a big pile of shavings around me. It was like, yeah, that was fun. And then I carried it over on my shoulder, and I mean, people were looking at me. It looks like something that 6 people should be carrying, right? I'm just walking over with it on my shoulder. So much fun at Blythe. But you know what was the best thing about that show for me? Well, 2 things. The cow giving birth on stage is pretty cool. I have a picture somewhere of the calf lying in the straw. Yeah. But when we first installed the show, and we brought the cow in, remember the farmer came with the cow and he wanted to check everything out, and we couldn't get it to go up the ramp and he said, you have to throw straw on the ramp. And as soon as we threw straw on it, it went up the ramp and it had to go up 2 ramps, right? The 2 loading docks into the back. And so there were 2 cows, and the farmer brought and wanted to check it all out before he put the cow on stage. So he came in on stage and he looked at it, and he walked over to one of my posts. And he poked it with his finger, and he got this really puzzled expression. I said, "It's styrofoam." And he went, his jaw opened. He didn't say anything. His jaw opened. And I thought, this is a guy who's every day in a barn, every day. And I fooled him from like 3 inches. So I was pretty happy about that. Yeah, I thought that if I can fool him, and I always like to say that, of course, the cow felt so comfortable that it gave birth, and
Boy, did it.
Yeah, did it.
There's goop everywhere.
And Ted Johns, Mr. Farmer expert, freaked out.
I can't be on stage with that thing. It wouldn't clean, right? Like a placenta, it wouldn't pass the placenta. This is a bit gross for the people listening out, but after the calf is born, it has to pass the placenta in stage 3 of birth, and it wouldn't clean the placenta. Yeah. It would come out and go, "Hello, everybody, I'm a placenta," and then go back in. So then we had to take it off stage.
Well, imagine how much fluid went in water for a cow.
It went everywhere. Yeah. That place smelled like cow.
Weren't you a technician?
Cow. Yeah, I was the
house
I was the
guy.
house tech.
Because you lit it and you were the tech.
Yeah.
Weird. Because they don't do that anymore.
Not anymore.
They used to. That's true. They used to do that.
It was the season that
you
saved
got one.
Blythe. Yeah, you got one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the easy one.
The easy one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then, what's his name? Mike Chartrand.
Oh, Chartrand.
Who was Shit Boy. Remember, we called him Shit Boy.
Yes, he took care of the shit burrito at the end of that. There was a piece of fiber.
Well, what we did was we made a tray that the two cows stood on that was fiberglassed, and it was sort of a bit of a ramp downstage because Paul Thompson wanted them with their asses facing the audience, so you could watch them shit and piss constantly, and then it was covered in fiberglass and went into a little trough, and it had to be cleaned all the time. So that poor Mike, he had to do that, and he became Shit Boy. I know.
There's a PA job for you.
I know.
The only reason I would come back, not the only reason, I came back the next year, but I had it written in my contract that Tanya, along with Tanya Grieve, who was the stage manager of
Crystal.
the show, and Crystal Cerverda
was the
first
stage
year.
manager. Yeah,
yes,
the first year.
Oh, but Tanya was the ASM backstage.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Crystal was she was the stage manager. We got her so good that year with so many practical jokes. Anyways.
She doesn't like having animals. She won't touch animals.
She doesn't like animals on stage. So Tanya and I said, well, I'll come back because we did Barn at the next year as an extension of the
and that's when
show.
that's when the cow was born.
Was born
the second time because I wasn't there.
Yeah. We took care. I said, well, I'll come back and do the extension, but I want to take care of the cattle with Tanya. And we picked them up from the barn at the top of the show.
At the hobby farm, right?
At the Sargent farm. I was just there last week, actually. I went by, took a picture of Sargent farm. And we would walk them from the barn to the stage and take them back. And then they extended the show because the extension, the show, the remount
right, it was a remount
so well.
And then it got extended.
And that's why the cow had birth, because the original due date was after the closing. And so then when they extended it, it went over top of the due date.
Right.
And no one went, it's fine. Because you had to have pregnant cows on the show.
So you didn't have to milk them. Yeah. Which I also is very interesting, because it fucks them up, right? It'll fuck up their schedule by having a show schedule. Yeah. So you have to use pregnant cows. Yes. Yeah.
Or we'd have to milk them every day.
Yeah, which wasn't going to happen.
Times. Yeah, we're not going to. No. They were not in a position to be milked. It was an incredible process. But then we had to roll the burrito because there was a rubberized spray. What's that called? Rubber that's painted. Rubber glue.
Oh yeah, rubber latex.
Rubber latex.
Yep.
That was over top of the floor cloth.
Right.
And then that was rolled up and put in the back of the pickup truck.
The burrito.
And the shit burrito.
You weren't there when we put the thresher on stage, were you?
No, I was designing that season, but I was not a tech there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something else, man. Pulling that thing into the building was the hardest part because we built a threshing machine, about 3/4 size. Yeah. And then we went, how the fuck are we going to get this in? Because we had to roll it up those two ramps. Yeah. And you know what he did? Sean Kelly. There's another plate. Right. So if you look straight into the back of the second loading dock, like it would be the wall of the theater itself, there's a plate there with a ring in it or something, some kind of I think it's a ring.
A point.
Like a and we ran so we attached a rope to the front of the thresher. We ran it up to that ring, back onto the street, and he attached it to the back of his truck. Oh my God. Or David James's truck. I can't remember whose truck it was. And then they drove the truck in the opposite direction and pulled it up. But at first, it didn't start, and then it started. It went boom, and it freaked us all out. And suddenly there it is on the first level. I was like, okay.
It's ridiculous.
I know. The things that we put into that place.
It's remarkable the kind of Pat Flood, again, a Black Bonspiel.
Black Bonspiel,
had rolling truck units.
Yeah.
That would run truck. That's a trucks is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Haven't done theater for a while. And they would roll on and off stage, like whole sets.
I know.
At the Blythe Festival.
And you were fucking curling on stage.
Yeah, and they were curling. They're doing a curling show this year again.
Oh yeah.
And they're doing it with video, but there's rocks on stage as well that they're curling as well.
What do you mean they're doing it with video?
They've got a top down. They actually project the rink onto the floor. It's really clever. It's cool. Very, very clever. And then curl on top of it. Wow. Yeah, it's really.
And then it goes away when you don't want it.
Yeah, and then
But they still must have to use a Teflon sheet and Armor All.
You know what? I don't know how they solved the problem. Because we use glycerin, I think.
Armor All, I think it was. And the thing with the sprayer, they actually do that in curling, right? To pebble the ice, like it's part of curling. So it was. I remember when I saw the show, thinking, "Oh, it's too bad they had to do that," and then I realized, no, they actually do that in curling. Yeah. I was very impressed that they could do that on stage.
It was so great. It was so great. Real curling rocks. I think most people do it with little wheels. I think Pat Flood. We talked about this in the Pat Flood episode. Most people
the rock itself would have a little roller on the bottom.
Rock and there's a roller on the bottom. Roller. But they used actual real rocks on Teflon
and had more of the feel of it.
Yeah.
Although in Blythe, I don't know how much of the floor you see, but low rake and high stage.
Certainly the balcony got a great show.
The balcony.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let me just go through this thing here because I think we want to end on.
Actually, can I talk about one? There's a Blythe experience I want to talk about because this is a really important one.
Yeah.
So I think the last show I did there, it's a few years ago. I got a call from Sargent Thompson to do the farm show, revisiting the farm show, and I thought to myself, number one. Collectors are hard, and they're hard to design for because you don't, again, have a script, and you kind of want to give them something, but you don't want to kind of box them in with it either, right? So you want it to be open, but you want to you almost have to impose something, or otherwise it's too open. So anyway. That's the design part of it is part of it. I went back up there and I went, thinking, farms, barns, blah, blah, blah. And I'm driving around. I'm going, there's no fucking barns left. These are all metal sheds, like, or like factory, like, big buildings that are made out of sheet metal. And I drove up to one. It was a chicken farm. And the guy let me go in. And it was completely open inside, and I put on a hazmat suit, and I was all big computer control center with amount of light and heat and humidity and all the water, that fresh water that's being, and the feed and everything, and the chickens are all running around like free. 25,000, no, 2,500, 25,000. I think it's 25,000. The size of a football field. This thing I was in. All run around, little yellow chicks, beep, beep, beep. They're worried about stepping on them, right? He gets those at 2 weeks old. He keeps them for 6 weeks. And then another truck comes and takes them away. That's what he does. That's farming. And so anyway, it was interesting that this whole thing was so different. And farming was so different. And yet, the process that we use to tell the story of those local people and what their life is like, even though the stories are quite different, and technology came into it a lot, because farming is hugely reliant on modern technology, GPS and all this stuff. Like these tractors cost, $500,000, and they've got GPSs on them, and they can plow by themselves. I mean, it's incredible. So I was really interesting to learn that, but the experience. That's what I wanted to talk about. Opening night. So the show is there, and we started off with an homage to the original farm show. And there's a photograph, black and white photograph of the original cast. David Fox, Claire Coulter, Paul,
Fina McDonald was in it as well.
Yeah.
We spoke to her.
Fina was in it. That's right. McDonald. Jen Amos, Ted Johns, Paul's wife was, I'm just forgetting her name. Paul Thompson's wife.
Oh, Anne England.
Anne,
yeah. And
Miles Potter.
Miles Potter. Yeah.
So, I realized opening night, I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, for an actor, it's usually you're going to portray a character, fictional character. Or if you portray a real person, person's not sitting in the audience watching you. In Blythe, these people are coming to watch you be them, or be their brother, or be their father, or be their cousin or their neighbor.
And tell their story.
And it's a huge responsibility. Like truth, in terms of truth telling, it's a huge responsibility. And I sat there and I felt that really strongly. And I thought, this is sort of the essence of the Blythe Festival. It's where it came out of. And to be part of that revisiting, I realized that the same sentiment was there in its audience. It was as important to them as it was to the audience that had seen it 40 years ago. And we had this photograph, and it's Anne Anglin and Paul standing there with a babe in their arms, and it's Severin. And Severin is 40, right? Or she's in her 40s, and she has grown children. And sitting behind me opening night was Miles and Anne and like everybody. They were all sitting behind me. And I just suddenly felt this, and I don't think I've ever felt like I was a part of Canadian theatre history in that way before, in that part of that tradition. I felt like I was a part of that tradition that was an Indigenous form that was born there in that hall. Well, actually in a barn, not in that hall, but nonetheless in that county. And just how profoundly Canadian that is, and how important it is as part of our. And it's not about theater. This is about like the roots of theater, storytelling and history, and what you're talking about. What you're trying to do yourself is to preserve some of the traditions behind those things and the histories that create those traditions. So the original farm show, Blythe was born out of. And to be a part of that. And what was great was we didn't just do the farm show. We redid what they did. We retraced their steps. We took their process and we redid it today in the 21st century. An utterly different show about utterly different subject, and yet universally the same. And I just think that's, it really struck me. And you get jaded. And I'm really jaded right now. Like I really am, and I get very cynical about the theater sometimes. And yet moments like that, and I realize I'm more like a failed romantic than I am a cynic, because those moments are important, and I hope those things get, and good for you for doing these things, because hopefully they'll get carried on, and the stories will get told. Because otherwise I have to come and sit in my first year class and listen to me go on about them.
Important. All right. I'm going to I want to go back and talk about training.
Okay.
And this story will end on.
Okay.
So I'll cut in a thank you at the end of the training thing, and I'll cut that back in. Okay. So you have been training theater artists, mentoring
in a fashion,
and how have you been doing that? And what are your thoughts on how we should be training? Like, where do you want to start this from? Like, how did you find yourself into that? And get in that position in the first place?
Well, I think when I started teaching at U of T, that was just an job opportunity. I didn't think of it as a teaching job; it was a TD job. And then I realized that I didn't feel like I was teaching because students were only a couple of years younger than me. So it felt more like I was just working with them. But I come from a family of teachers. My father was a teacher. My sister was the head of the teachers union in Quebec. A lot of tradition of teaching in my family. And I found that I was not a really great teacher in front of a class because I'd get way too nervous and I'd jump around and talk too much and I don't know, wave my hands. But mentoring I really liked because then I could get into the person, their particular. I was really, I think, quite good at identifying what their strengths were, identifying their weaknesses, encouraging them to, explore and push and that sort of thing. Because I am somebody who likes to take a risk and push a bit. Maybe less so now than I was when I was younger. I don't know. And I was mentored. And I realized just how important that was. Like when Sue LePage did that for me, I realized I don't think I could have really, she really kickstarted my career and intentionally did so. She took steps to do so. And I've done that with a couple of young artists, Raha Jamfar being one of them, who was on grant. Well, she wanted to mentor with me, so she found a grant, and it said 4 shows. You know, we'll pay you basically for 4 shows. And at the time, one of them was the Tafalmusik show. Right. And it just happens to be that she's a classically trained violinist. Oh, wow. And, you know, grade 12, Royal Conservatory. She good. Yeah. And she was trying to decide between a career in music and a career as a designer, lighting designer. And she came on, one of the projects was this. And I said, well, that's perfect, you know, because you read music, right? It'll be great. And the show had a lot of video in it. Hubble Space Telescope slides and stuff like that. That the person who Alison Mackay had already chosen. But I didn't know anything about video, and Raha didn't really either. So we started using but she knew more about computers than I did. So she started using like the slide thing on her on her Mac, and the show was built on Keynote, right? And then we did another show, and we did another show, and we did another show. And on the second show, I said, look, I don't really know about video. She should probably design the video. Right. And she actually became a video designer, and she's just like designed for other people. Right. Because of that, we've traveled all over the world together, like all over the world. It's been 10 years. We've been doing 4 shows, and it all came out of one Ontario Arts Council grant, which has, you know, she's chosen to become more of a musician these days, and she's doing that more. But I mean, it definitely opened a lot of doors for her as a lighting designer and as a video designer. And I don't think she intended it for that. So yeah, I'm glad about that. I'm glad that I helped open that door for her, you know, like whether she would decide to go through it or not, but I get a great satisfaction from it. And I like it. I think I'd like it with groups too, but I just don't seem to be able to connect to a group the same way. I just don't. I can't get them excited.
It's a different skill. You're really like imparting information that they have to, like, it's a more of a formal
lecturing.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at lecturing.
It's a skill.
I'm better with sort of and I've always found is learning too. Is if it was practical, if I could apply it, I understood it and I remembered it. If it wasn't, I never remembered it, even if I didn't understand it.
It certainly is a good plug for what is the traditional way of learning theater. It's an apprenticeship program, right? Like you can go and learn it all. You can learn about all the tech stuff and get training on certain systems and, you know, learn vocabulary and process and everything else from school. But until you actually figure out how you do it in the real world and work with someone who can tell you how they work and start to develop a style like that, you only get from apprenticeship, right?
There are so many variants and in so many different disparate artists that have to put their work together in order to create a theater piece. I mean, I talk about this all the time with students. It's a collaborative art, and it's probably the only one that uses so many disparate types of artists and asks them to all come together to do one thing. Which makes it probably the most imperfect art as well. But it becomes that skill set of being able to not be selfish and to share. But it's interesting because when you allow yourself to open up, you can actually become more creative that way, because it's not about your ego. It's about whether it's right or whether it's right. You know, this is a good idea. Let's try it. When I did Fronteras Americanas, I did set, lights, costumes, video. I was a designer, right? I was a production designer. And it was a one-man show. So it was Guillermo Verdecchia, Jim Warren, and me, the 3 amigos, right? And we toured the show. We had numerous iterations of the show. And then we remounted it like 20 years later. And I remember at one point, I think it was about the 3rd time we were in Winnipeg doing it at Manitoba Theatre Centre, and we were out drinking cognac, as was our habit after rehearsal. And it was a bit of a love-in, I guess. And it was like, I don't remember if that was your idea or my idea. That design element, I think that was Guillermo's suggestion. And that line reading, I think I suggested that one night when we were in notes. And we couldn't decide who had made, like we'd crossed over into one another's departments so much that we no longer really made the distinction, and we were just all working together on it. And I had sort of my area that I needed to take care of, and they had their area, but they all blended. And that, to me, is a working relationship. That is, it's rare, but when it works, that's truly, you know, when you've kind of done it, and then you are. So I like to say this. I'm going to use this analogy. Maybe it's a good thing to end on or whatever. I used to say this to my students. I started thinking about it, collaboration and all that sort of thing, and how you know that it's not equal, right? The director has more power than anyone else, and designers have a certain amount of power versus, you know, production managers tend to be reacting to what the designers asked for, et cetera, right? So I thought, well, what's a good analogy for this with students? And I thought, well, that you're not a theater artist. You, together with others, make up one theater artist. So if you think of the theater artist as a person with organs, so you're the brain, I'm the heart, the other person's the lungs, this person's the fingers. So you don't need all of those skills all at the same time, but you do need your fingers at one point. And that would be super important, and you can't do the job without them. But you don't need them all the time. So, you know, there's times when your skill set is going to be more important than other times, and that's when you need to step up and be ready and be capable and be trained and be ready to go. And you also need to rely on those other things to keep the blood flowing and the air in the lungs and the brain working and all those things. And it's a simple analogy, I suppose, but I think it's really true that one organ is dependent on the other, and yet they do different things. And yet altogether they do one thing. That's my analogy for theater artists. And I think that if you can impart that, that's an important thing to impart to a student. That's what I've always tried to teach students because I don't think I've ever done a show that I could have done it by myself. Ever. And so people say, oh, your work was so beautiful or whatever. And you go, oh, you get all puffed up, or your ego. And you go, well, actually, you know, it's not really entirely me, right? It's like, yeah, I obviously had a part of it and I'm proud of it, but it's not. I mean, even if it's the set itself, that still went through the director. That still got inspired by the script. That still, you know, like those things came out of somewhere, and they're not just like, you know, springing fully formed from your creative mind. And it's like,
Yeah. Our ideas are shaped by the context and our limitations, and very much.
And yet, those are also sometimes that's where it's born out of.
Exactly.
Limitations are really great. Personally, I've always done better work when I've had smaller budgets. If I've given an unlimited budget, I number one, I almost always go over. Right. What is with that? And also, I just can't decide what to do. Whereas if I'm restricted, it's like, oh, okay. I can only do this. So, and I can work within that. And I find that easier for me. I don't know why, but it's easier for me.
Yeah, I think I agree. All right. We didn't talk about Jim Milan and Crows.
I didn't do very much work with Jim Milan and Crows, but I did High Life.
High Life.
Which was a fucking great show.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about High
Brent
Life.
Carver. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, here's a great story I like to tell my students about High Life and Brent Carver. Okay, here's a good one. So, High Life is a great show. I don't think it's ever I've done a show with 4 men in it. That was such a male show, like a very male energy show, and 4 ex-cons. And it starts off with the guy telling the most disgusting story, like right in the middle of the mid-conversation. He's talking about throwing up on some woman that he's fucking on the floor or something, you know, like it's really gross. It's and it shows him to be a real pig. And that's, you know, boom, you're into it, right? Randy Houston, right? Is telling this story. And his character's name is Bug. Right. And Ron White, God rest his soul. And actually, you know what? Just realizing Crackwalker had Ron White, Randy Houston, Cheryl, she's dead, but 2 of them are dead. Well, anyway, sorry, I'm getting maudlin. So this is the story. So we're doing High Life, and in it there's a scene. Most of it takes place in an apartment, but there's one scene where they sit outside a bank in a car, and it's kind of a red herring scene in terms of set design, because you got this one scene, the 4 of them sitting in a car, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. How do you stage that? Easily make it look like a car. We decided we wouldn't even try to make it look like a car. We did have 2 seats that would come on, and they were like car seats, And then we had the couch, which just became the bench seat in the back. So we'd bring the car seats on, and they were obviously like captain seats, you know. And they're on a little truck unit. They came on and sat in place. And then we lit it. Originally, Bonnie did the design, and then I took it on the road. We lit it with a rectangle of light, hard focused all the way around it, right? So in that scene, Brent is freaking out. He has to pee. His character needs to pee. And he's freaking out. He's jonesing. He's all these things. And he's amazing. He's amazing, like what he does to himself. So he'd be sweating. His face would be green. I don't know how he does this. And at one point, they're trying to convince him, distract him so that he doesn't pee. So they don't want him to get out of the car, right? Because they've got guns and stuff. They don't want to get out of the car. And so they ask him what's his favorite movie, and they go around talking about their favorite movies and all this sort of thing. And he says, "This is The Sound of Music," and they laugh at him. Of course, they promise they won't laugh at him. He says, "I don't want to tell you you'll laugh," and they tell them, and they laugh at him. And he pees his pants, and you can tell he's peeing his pants because he's crying and he's peeing his pants. He's humiliated, right? It's an incredible scene, like the way he plays it. It's very funny and it's really sad at the same time. So he comes to me, and we were at the Du Maurier, or the Ice House. Yeah, what is it called? The N-Wave. Yeah. And it was, so the seating there is sort of like 3 balconies or 2 balconies, and it comes down both sides. And even when you do proscenium, you got people down like right on sort of directly stage right and left, up a level. John Stead was our fight guy. And actually, I remember him saying, when you hold the knife, you turn it so it catches the light, and everybody sees it in, the various seats, right? You turn the blade really slowly in your hand while you're holding it, and it'll catch a reflection, and everybody will see the glint on the knife. I remember that one. So along that line, Brent comes up to me after the first preview, and he says, "How am I lit in that scene, the scene where he breaks down crying?" And I said, square from above, and there's some fill in for the face, but basically it's that kind of boom, right? He didn't say anything, he just nodded. And then I watched the show that night. So he gets to that point where he's sobbing. And I watched him. He tilted his face up, and he panned it very slowly from left to right. Why? So we saw the reflection of that downlight on his tears. And I went, wow. I mean, this is he's an incredibly sensitive actor, and intuitive and instinctual. And yet, that's 100% technique. 100%. And he managed to meld those two things together and have them coexist. I don't think I've ever seen that before. An actor that can command both those things equally, and with such, and he never even told me why he was doing it. He just wanted to know, and then he worked it. And I just thought, okay, that is a perfect example of, working as one to do one thing, and because that's not only about him.
That's incredible. All right. I think we'll stop there.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for being on the show. That was designer Glenn Davidson talking to me from his home in Toronto in August of 2018. Next time, an interview with the fabulous lighting designer Kevin Fraser. The music for this podcast is by Vern Good with voiceover by Gabriel Cropley. Please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. It'll help get the word out about this podcast and share the history of theatre design in Canada. And you can follow us on Twitter at TheTitleBlockCA and on Facebook.com/TheTitleBlockPodcast. You can send comments and requests by email to TheTitleBlock@gmail.com. And don't forget that if you do like the show, please support us on Patreon.com. Feel free to share this with your friends, colleagues, students, and teachers, or listen to it while you rush between each performance at the Toronto Fringe Festival to do every changeover yourself and make sure they start on time before you get your golden donut. I'm Michael Cruz, and I'll see you next time on The Title Block. Did you do The Dream with Richard Greenblatt?
Uh-huh.
In 2002?
Yes,
Awesome.
at in High Park. Yeah, and my father died in the middle of it.
Oh my God.
Right in the middle of it. Right at Tech. Right at Levels, our Focus or something like that.
That's awful.
Yeah, I'll always remember. I remember very little about the show.
Yeah.
Actually, I love the design, if I do say so myself. But I remember somebody who Paul Shaw,
Yeah.
who could be a real hard ass as a production manager, a real hard ass. Like he was the worst guy to negotiate with. Like the worst.
Sure.
Just awful. He stepped up and was really a good person.
Yeah.
You know, he made me feel like, don't even think about it.
Right.
You're out of here.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We got you. We
Yeah.
got you. We got you. So that's the kind of stuff I find, really make you remember.
Yeah.
That quality stuff, as opposed to a show or somebody, how they screw you on a contract or anything like that. But when it comes down to the human stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a difference, right?
for sure.